Growing up, I saw my grandfather who had diabetes, and one day when he was ill, my mother took us into the critical care unit, and I learned the story of what brought him there, and it was that he had gotten his toe clipped. Later learning that what my grandfather endured and went through was so preventable. In addition, I enrolled in Health Service Occupation Students of America while in high school, and that is the point where I realized nursing was going to be for me. After high school, I attended college at Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. It was during my last semester of nursing school where I had my clinical leadership course. That also was the point where I was determined that I knew and I believed that I had what it would take to be a nurse leader. And regardless of what someone told me at that particular time, that I was still going to be directed in that way. So after college, I immediately received my commission as a second lieutenant in the Air Force and went to my big first assignment at Shepherd Air Force Base, Texas. And then one day I saw this nurse come up to the floor and she had this machine, and I was like, well, what is that? That moment of inquisition led me to begin my career in nephrology nursing. We can all recount what 2020 was like. In the midst of a pandemic, we also saw ourselves in another pandemic as well, and that is related to social justice. So we can remember that day in May 2020 when we watched a knee being put on a man, and that man was George Floyd, and we watched him lose his life. And so in the wake of George Floyd, 8NA didn't stay silent. The president at the time was Lillian Pryor, and she put out a statement acknowledging that social injustice had happened. That was the beginning of 8NA making a shift towards establishing a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And with that committee came a commitment to improve the lives of everyone, including nephrology nursing and the patients that they care for. We talk about health disparities. We constantly see it in so many ways. If you are in oncology, you hear it from cancer, you hear about it in heart disease, you hear it about it particularly. There's also emphasis on maternal health. We look at the rates of Black women in childbirth and labor, and we see those disparities. We now have an opportunity to do better. We have a new starting place that says, you know what? We are not our history. We are not our past. We have this important piece because we know that collectively we can do more. DEI is not this thing for a particular group of people, but it really is this thing that makes others feel that they belong, that they have a place, and that they have a voice, and that voice is actually taken into consideration, and that people can be their full selves, without the need to shun who they are or what they believe in. And that, my friend, is what we are moving towards. And so where do we start? So a lot of people may be like, okay, Loretta, I want to help. I want to help lead in this aspect of it. Where do I begin? And so one of the first things that you can do is really have some self-awareness. If you are in position of power or privilege or influence, how do you use those powers for good? How do you make sure that others are brought along with you as well? If you see that the environment in which you work is not inclusive of others, it's not supportive, then speak out about it. Find a mechanism to have conversations either individually or form a council within your group to improve things. Be sensitive to ways that you communicate. If there's language that makes someone feel marginalized, apologize and then find a way to speak to them that helps to edify them. So those are some of the basic things that each and every one of us can begin to do to help build a more inclusive, diverse workplace environment. And when we stand up in this particular time that has given us an opportunity to shift how the world sees us in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nephrology nurses need to be heard about the importance of that as it relates not only to the practice of nephrology nursing, but to the care of the diverse population that we care for. If we want change, we have to be that change.